Hello and welcome to our QR code webinar. Nobody and nothing has had a bigger come up over the last 18 months than our good friends, the QR codes. We've been fielding tons of questions here at Tagboard in relation to QR codes. So today we thought, let's bring you some answers. Guiding the way will be myself, Sky Muller, manager of client success here at Tagboard.
And I'm Christine Chalk, SVP of Creative Services. Here's what we've got on the agenda today. We'll be breaking down our top 10 best practices when it comes to both designing and producing with QR codes. Then we'll show you how to generate a QR code from right within Tagboard. It literally only takes a few clicks of your mouse. And of course, we'll highlight some great examples, use cases with results of QR codes to start to get your creative wheels spinning. But like everything else we do here at Tagboard, we want this to be interactive. So hit us with your QR code questions, drop them in the thread, or tweet us at Tagboard.
We will monitor all your questions and we're going to highlight a couple at the end of the production. But what better way to start than with a QR code of our own? We're going to drop a QR code in the lower third. There it goes right now. Scan that QR code in the lower third. It's going to take you to a specific tweet. And we want you to reply to that tweet with a GIF of how you're feeling today. Could be up, could be down, any GIF. Maybe it's just your favorite GIF and that's how you're feeling today. But guess what? We're going to pick some of our favorites, man, top five, let's call it. And we're going to send you some exclusive tag board swag. And it's actually the shirt I'm wearing right here. Check this out. It's literally a scannable QR code. Unreal.
Very on brand, Sky, very on brand. Look, while you're scanning and replying with a GIF, for those of you who are new to QR codes, let's do a quick backstory. How did what's old become new again? A QR code is essentially a barcode. It can be easily scanned with the camera right on your phone. It contains various forms of data, like it could be a website link, account information, a phone number, a coupon, an email. It's a simple but trackable way to get your audience from the screen to wherever we want to go. Now, people at home, because of the glow up QR codes I've had in the last year or two, they know exactly what to do when they see one. So the hard part is done. And now you can leverage QR codes in your programming. Let's dive into the top 10 best practices, starting with design.
And let's get it started with giving it some context. It is so important to have context around your QR code, and that means a clear call to action on screen along with your QR code. That way, viewers know exactly what you want them to do, and you can't just assume they're listening. Maybe they're just watching in the background or the audio is muted. And so, a proper lower third title bar that says, hey, this is why we want you to scan this QR code. And the important thing here is tell them why it's not a waste of their time. Not everyone's listening, and we need to make sure they know scanning this code is going to take them somewhere special.
Next up, this is probably the question we get asked the most. Hey, Tagboard, how big should my QR code be? I answer your question with a few questions, considering first, what type of screen will people be viewing this on? Are they going to be watching on a TV that may be up mounted on the wall? Are they going to be watching on a laptop sitting at a desk? So that's the first question. Second, pairing with that, how far away will they be sitting from the screen? If they're watching on a laptop, they're going to be able to get right up close. You might not need to make your QR code quite as large. If they're watching on a TV screen, they might be sitting back on a couch and you want to make your QR code a little bit bigger, which leads, of course, to the third question. What kind of graphic are you building? You saw the example on our live stream just here. We had the QR code down in the lower third, or you could take something full screen if you need it to be a little bit bigger.
Next up is customizing that design. QR codes, let's be honest with them, they're not the most beautiful graphic. In my opinion, they look like an unfinished crossword puzzle. So we got to finish them up a little bit. So make it a seamless part of your graphics package. Add some color to it. You saw ours match the colors of our show. And add a logo even to the middle of it. If it's a sponsored segment, drop that sponsored logo right in the middle of your QR code. Maybe it's going to take you to a special coupon. But it's important to have contrast between your QR code and the background. This lets your camera lens really identify, hey, what's the QR code and what's not the QR code. And that is of the most importance.
The fourth one is something that sometimes get overlooked. We think so much about the QR code, but think just as much about the destination. If people are scanning that QR code and you are sending them to a website or a landing page, ask yourself, is it optimized for mobile viewers? Remember, everyone who goes to your destination from a QR code is going to be getting there on their phone. So optimize whatever landing page, whatever website you are using for people who will be experiencing it on mobile.
And last up, when it comes to the designs part of the QR code, is let's track that performance. You're putting so much effort into building the QR code and programming around this QR code. You want to know if it's actually working. I've heard some really good stories of people thinking, hey, we're going to try this QR code out, but we don't think we're going to get really good engagement of it. And then they were blown away with how many people actually scanned the code. They wanted more information, they wanted to get the exclusive swag. And so if you go back and you look at those numbers, you could be pleasantly surprised, or maybe they're really low. Well, you go back to the drawing board and you say, okay, they're low. What can we adjust and game plan around the next time we put that QR code on screen and see if our numbers improve?
I think we have some results coming up later to show you just how successful this can be. But first, let's talk about the top five for producing. Well, you've designed your QR code. Now it's time to use it. First and foremost, provide a purpose. You heard Sky touch on this earlier. The QR code, really to be successful, it needs to link to quality content. You need to give people a quality reason to scan in the first place. Don't use QR codes as a throwaway. Really think about how you're building it into your programming because you're asking your users to take a specific action. You have to pay it off when they do. We'll give you some very specific content ideas that do this very well coming up in just a few minutes.
Next up, give a clear call out. We talked about putting a graphic on the lower third, informing your audience on why they need to be scanning this and what it's going to take them to. Have your host, your anchor, who's ever leading your production on camera, give a clear call to action. Hey, call out this QR code. Maybe you missed it. It's in the bottom left corner of our screen if it's not a big full screen graphic. Or hey, scan this QR code, pull out your phone. I've even seen really cool examples where the host will pull out their own phone and pretend to scan it themselves. So give a clear call to action and identify it on screen. Don't just throw it up assuming everybody's going to see it there.
Next up, seems straightforward, but give your audience time to scan. This is probably one of the biggest things where we see people go wrong. They pop up the QR code, they've got a great purpose, the image is beautiful, it's not on screen long enough. And nothing is more frustrating to a viewer at home who doesn't have time to take out their phone and get to where you're wanting to send them. So keep it on screen. How long? At Tagboard, we'll recommend no less than 30 seconds. But the most important is to test it out yourself. Pop it up on screen. If you cannot, get your phone out of your pocket, open your camera app, point it at the screen, zoom in, and get to the destination in time. Neither can your viewer.
Number 9 on our list and 4 on producing, program around it. Consider when it makes sense in your program and you want people to scan the QR code, but when they do, you have to understand they're going to be a little distracted from your programming. So you need to almost presume that they're going to miss some content immediately after that call to action that you give them. So, does it make sense maybe before you're tossing to a commercial break? Hey, scan this QR code, vote on our poll, take the trivia. When we come back from break, we're going to give you some answers or we're going to show you the results. Or maybe it makes sense at the end of a show where you're going to ask them, hey, stay connected with us outside of our standard production hours.
And last but not least, don't go QR overboard. Be mindful of how often you are using QR codes to avoid giving your viewers QR code fatigue. Look through your show, your rundown, and really find those moments that are going to be added value so that at the end of the day, when you do it, your users actually pull out their phone and scan.
So now that we've given you 10 of the best practices, let's actually show you how you can generate a QR code from within Tagboard. And what you're seeing on my screen right now is you're seeing our graphic template. Tagboard Cloud Graphics, we released them in early 2020 and seen a lot of use cases out there from the sports side to the entertainment side to the colleges to the broadcast. And actually, this entire webinar is being powered by Tagboard graphics right now. So everything you're seeing is coming through our Tagboard platform. And what I'm showing you is the graphic template builder. And if you're familiar with other editing software or other creative design software, you're going to be really familiar with Tagboard's graphic template builder. That said, I've worked with a ton of people who have not a lick of graphic design in their background, and they've gotten into this builder and had great success. They find it a lot more approachable sometimes than more other systems out there that they've been around. And it's overall a layer based editor. You have your text based layers, you have your image layers, you have your shapes, and ultimately you have your widgets here at the end. And that is where you can generate your QR code. So along the left side of this builder is where you stack your layers, you set your canvas settings, you can practice or preview your animations. But just to give you a little look at building a QR code, it's as easy as clicking that button to generate this QR code. And it's a free form builder where I can drag my QR code to where it needs to go. I can stretch it out if I want to stretch it out a little bit. I can toggle it around, and I'm adjusting all the size and width and location on my own. But over on the far right side, we can actually adjust your position and the size, and you can snap it to different locations. So, a lot of different ways to get this QR code, the size, shape, and exactly where you want it within your template. And then we talked about making it pretty, right? Not just a classic standard white and black QR code, but how about I add a little color to it? And so I can go into the background color and I can add the tagboard hex code to it. And now it's matching and looking a little more like I want it to look. I'm toggling it around a little bit. I can keep working my way. I could change the dot color. We talked a little bit also. Hey, you can add a logo to this. You can add a sponsorship to this. And right here, it's super easy to upload an image from your company or from who's ever the brand or organization that's sponsoring it and add that right within the builder. And then ultimately, can even add animation. I can say, hey, I want this to pop in and not just pop in at any time. I'm going to put a little delay on it a little bit here. And so I can mess around and adjust my animations. I can test them over on the right side or the left side here, make sure they're good to go, hit save within the graphic template builder. And so there's the building side where you're really laying out the template. And then from this side, I can jump into Tagboard Producer, which, if you're unfamiliar with Tagboard Producer, this is our cloud based production platform. This is where you can integrate the stuff that the tried and true past of Tagboard. If you know Tagboard as the social platform where we're bringing in Twitter, we're bringing in Instagram, we're bringing in Facebook, or you're bringing in interactivity, you're bringing in polls, you're bringing in hashtag polls, you're bringing in heat maps. That stuff all lives in here in an easy drag and drop workflow. Ultimately, I have all my graphic templates as well. Here's that one I just created. It's as simple as bringing it down onto my playlist where I want it to go. Before I take it live, I can always click on it and I can adjust things within my layers. I can set layers to be editable by a producer. So I could change a text on it. I can change the body just so you can see this, you know. Let me change this up for some fun. I can also adjust within here the URL that that QR code is pointing people to. So a really easy way, once you have that QR code and you want to change up where it's sending people in real time, you drop that URL within Tagboard here and it's going to update your QR code. And then I take it live and we're ready to go. And I'm actually going to take it live on this broadcast right now. And so that's just a little demo on how you can generate and build tagboard graphics with the easy graphic template builder and then take it live on your production.
We'd be not doing a good job if we didn't at least mention to you all the graphics you see running today on our webinar are being powered by Tagboard's graphics engine. So, of course, if you have questions, hit us up. We are happy to help tell you or show you how you can do this as well. We've given you best practices. We've shown you how to create the tag board QR code. Now, of course, the part everyone is waiting for is show us the creative use cases. So the first few we want to show you are using QR codes as a way to drive viewers to interactive polling, to real-time trivia, to that second screen experience. So coming up first, we've got an example from the Detroit Lions. They used QR codes around their 2021 NFL draft show. They created an amazing second screen experience where they let people at home play general manager. They let them test, ask them questions about who should be the next pick. What position should we be drafting for? Should we be trading? And as well, a little bit of trivia. And you can see the example here. Who's your favorite first round pick? The QR code, this is such a great example. There was a clear call to action. There was a large code on the screen. In case somebody was viewing this on mobile and couldn't scan that QR code, they also gave the URL you'll see right below there so that somebody could go and see the experience on their phone as well. So great example here. And you'll see as soon as they went away from the full screen, they kept the QR code on the right sidebar there. So there was always a way for people to be able to jump in to that Play GM experience from any time in the show.
And we know we all want to play GM. So a great example there from the Lions on that one. Another great example that I've seen is from our friends at Turner Sports. And this was actually around their MLB playoffs last year. And we'll probably see them bring it back this year as we're approaching the MLB playoffs. But they did a great job of integrating a QR code to drive their viewers to a Twitter poll. And so you even see they put the Twitter logo in the middle of it. What I said earlier, their host brought out the cameras or their phones rather and pretended to scan it. This is a great way to show like, hey, we're getting involved. We want you involved. Scan this QR code. Let's have some fun with it. And they've also brought it up multiple times in their broadcast, which I think is very important to give your viewer multiple chances and opportunities to scan that code.
A
And
third
then
example
the
here we
next
want
one that I want to
to
really bring in is
go ahead.
from our sorry, jumping all over you there, Christine. But the next one, I'm really excited about this one, and I was so excited I couldn't hold myself back, and that is from our storyteller live stream. And this one is really cool because as you're working through maybe a long interview, or maybe you're working through a long production where you want to give the viewer a little breather or a little break, it can be work out well to put yourself in the middle or put a QR code in the middle of that production that gives the viewer a break. And so what we do for our storyteller live stream is we put a QR code up in the middle and send people to a trivia segment. And we talk about programming around it and understanding that hey, when you put that QR code on screen, you might lose your viewer for a second or they might get a little distracted. So we give our audience 90 seconds, a little breather, little time to go have some fun with some trivia. And so they scan that code, it takes them to a trivia segment and they have a lot of fun. And then we get back into the second part of the interview.
All right, we gave you some poll examples. Let's pivot here and talk about a good example of driving people to expanded content, more information. This is one of my favorites here, News 12 over in New York. They did a fantastic job using the QR code you see there in the bottom corner of the screen during their snowstorm coverage last winter. For those of you who are joining us who may work in news, you know so well that you only get so much time on a broadcast to inform your viewers. Stories are tight, show moves quickly, but there's always additional content. In this instance, people are hungry for their neighborhood forecast, for more info about weather where they live. In other instances, you may only be able to air a 2-minute, 30-second package, but you've got an amazing full length interview you want to link to on the website. I mentioned we'd have results. This is one of those. News 12, by putting the QR code here, they were able to drive 19,000 referrals of people scanning that code and ending up on the station's weather page. So just a fantastic example of how you can leverage a little bit more expanded coverage that might live on your website.
And that one's so good too of just like, hey, we're giving people really important information and giving them that excuse and that reason on why they need to be scanning that. Another one that I really like, and it's similar to what we did on our webinar today, is driving people to exclusive merch or discounts. What we saw with the Premier Lacrosse League, they had an expansion draft. So a brand new team, a brand new franchise, no one has any gear for this team. Well, if you want to be the first to rep this team and get that gear, scan this code. It's only available during this draft. So if you're not watching this with us right now, you're not going to get access to any of that merchandise. They did a really good job by making people feel exclusive, giving people a reason to scan, and saw great numbers, even saw them drop a logo in the middle of that QR code.
Next up, this works really well around tentpole events. We saw the Green Bay Packers do this. They were using a QR code to guide their viewers to exclusive draft gear using that code. It was a direct, easy to scan link that took people right to their pro shop. You're seeing the clip, of course. You're stuck listening to Sky and I's audio, so apologies you can't hear the audio from the clip. But if you could hear it, the host did a great job of giving a very specific CTA, even telling people the QR code is in the bottom corner of your screen. The QR code up here, of course, here is a little bit smaller. Their audience was right on a laptop. They knew they were going to be able to get up close and personal to be able to scan that directly to the pro shop and get some swag. And then, of course, keeping in the NFL, but taking it to a little bit different team here, sales teams, marketers, listen up. This is a really creative example of incorporating sponsorships using QR codes. The New England Patriots, first of all, got to call out the graphic here. That is such a clear call to action, telling viewers, even those who may not know what to do with a QR code, how to end up scanning that. Now, the second QR code you'll see down there is that great sponsorship example, scan to order Bud Light. They were able to bring in their sponsor. We mentioned earlier that QR codes can be for coupons or for purchases. So this is such a neat way to bring that into the broadcast and incorporate a sponsor in a way that is a lot more than just a logo slap.
So many great use cases, so many real world examples. And Christine, they keep coming in. Just last weekend, we saw Global Citizen Live using QR codes to drive app downloads and get people to drive the conversation in a positive way and drive change. And so it's really cool to see all these QR codes and um, the different ways that people use them come to life. Also, before we get into our question segment, I just want to highlight we do have our QR code in the lower third again right now. Give you an opportunity, scan that QR code. It's going to take you to a specific tweet on our account. Reply with a GIF. I said how you're feeling today. It could be your favorite GIF, but we're going to pick 5 of them and we're going to send you exclusive swag, a scannable QR code, t shirt. It's awesome. It's good stuff. But let's get into the questions now. I believe our first question is coming from Carlo. And Carlo wanted to know, Christine, what are the important analytics around QR codes for tracking purposes?
That's a great question, Carlo. You heard us talk about it earlier. Of course, first and foremost is, are people scanning? I think that is the obvious metric we want to look at right off the top. If people aren't scanning, step one is figuring out, why didn't they scan? Did you have it placed on a screen where they couldn't access it? Was it too quick? Did the content not give them a compelling enough reason to get in and scan in the first place? That's really the first place you want to start. The second analytic that I would recommend tracking actually takes you a little bit outside of the QR code itself, but what did you want that user to do once they ended up at your destination? Did you want them to vote on a specific poll? Did you want them to download your app? Did you want them to, fill out a form? You want to see, is there a drop off between the people who actually scanned and the people who completed the action you wanted them to complete? So then you can start to assess, where is the performance drop off? Is it on the function of the QR code itself, or is it on the purpose you offered once your user ended up at your destination? If you're just starting to dabble in QR codes, I'd probably look at those two as the first two things you're looking for to gauge your success.
Wonderful. Love it. I couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't say anything else. But we would say thank you, Carlo, for the great question. I know other people out there have questions, or if you're watching this on demand at a later time, feel free to reach out to Tagboard with all of your questions, and we'll make sure we get them answered.
And amazing. That's going to do it for Sky and I today. We know we promised under 30 minutes. We're going to keep our word to you. What better way to close it out than, you guessed it, a QR code? So if you want to get in touch with our team, find out more, we're going to be popping up a QR code on your screen here. Go ahead, pull out your phone. We're going to follow our own rules. We're going to keep it up for at least 30 seconds here. Grab your phone, open up your camera app, point it right at that QR code, scan it, get in touch with our team. If you are already a Tagboard partner, shoot us an email. Your dedicated client success manager, our entire success team for that matter, is ready to help you get set up and brainstorm creative ways that you can use QR codes. If you're brand new to Tagboard, we'd love to help you get started. If you're seeing Tagboard graphics engine and thinking, I don't have my hands on that yet, reach out to us as well. This will get you in touch with the right person on our team to do that. And in the meantime, thanks so much for joining us. Sky and I will catch you on the other side of the code.